Welcome to Nameless Debate Radio, where radioactivity is contagious.
World, and one thing is truth. You cannot help someone that doesn't want to be helped. Let's be honest here, bro. You're typing this shit. If you sell a book, give me at least $50, bro.
I think a lot of what you just said there made a lot of sense to me, and I want to talk to you tomorrow.
And I'm gonna read your thing here, probably like in the evening, because I was reading the beginning when you were like talking.
It's just something that you said before that I have already put into words previously.
Like I said, we are all the same, but in the end, we are so different, but in the end we are all the same. We have all the same thoughts, right? For example, you focus your life in getting money. Some focus their life on being the best doctor. Some focus their life on helping others. But in the end, it's like we have this endless pursuit for something that makes us feel happy.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, but like you cannot because you wanna how do you say, you want to compress reality into a small package that can be fully understood like by any person in this world, because that's the human nature. We want to diminish things to a more understandable sort of image, or like us, or like, man, you even saw like Stephen Hawking, I think, saying like he wanted to his life pursuit was like to how do you say, to compromise or like to compress all this infinite and beautiful universe in one simple equation of, I don't remember of how many inches he said, but it's more like 1 or 2 inches. See, this is the human nature. You want to compress everything on a way that is like it's like you can touch it, you can see it, you can hear it, and you can tell it's this. Life is this, and it's this. So we have a clear path of what to do. But you cannot do that. The world is too big. You cannot probably know what. Man, you spend your life with your wife for 50 years, and I bet after 50 years you will still find things about her that you didn't know that she had. And this can be confirmed by any actually like a married like a couple over 50 years, which is very rare nowadays, but yeah. But you see, the thing is, there's always things to be discovered, bro. The problem is when you say, I already know it, I already know everything, I already have my sort of like ideals and ideas like inside my head. There's nothing that you're gonna say that is gonna change. When you have that like mindset, you will stop improving.
I agree. I think that when people have that mindset, they actually start to petrify, and they sort of die a little bit every day that they're not willing to learn anything, because part of what you are is a learning creature, and when you stop learning, you start decaying in some sense.
Yes, because if you stop, because in fact, even if you want to stop, the world doesn't stop. You know, the world is always progressing towards like in a straight direction. You know, but sometimes in your life, you just want the world to stop. You just want to break. You just want to I can't handle it anymore. I cannot hear a single sound of a voice anymore. Like, you're just tired because
I'm not like that. I'm not
yeah,
like
you
that.
cannot, but you probably are not like that, but I can guarantee that you will have a moment in your life that you will feel like that if you still didn't went through it. I can guarantee you.
I don't know. I
can give you an
very,
example. Like, for example, when my father passed away, I wanted the world to stop. I wanted the world to give me the time to grieve him, to grieve him. I felt like how do you say, like I don't know the words in English to express like the pain that I felt, but like the moment he died, like a part of my world just died with him. You know, like I just felt robbed. You know, I felt robbed from the world, and the world just kept going on. You know, and when you're going through this process of losing someone, is very hard, man. It's very very hard.
It seems like we equivocated a little bit there, though. Like, I definitely agree that you want the world to stop when you're grieving, right? But I don't think that that's the same as like when you get old and you become dogmatic and you stop learning things, right? Because you recovered from the grief; it was a temporary condition. Whereas when you stop learning things, generally, that's it. Like, you're done. That's all there is to it. like the amount of people that manage to begin learning again once they've stopped and do it effectively is pretty low.
But like what I mean is not when on the process of grieving, because I can be grieving for a person that is no longer here. You can be grieving for a job that you wanted so much and you no longer have it and you lost your way, for example.
They're different.
You can be grieving because you. Yes, like it's different. Like it's different for everyone, but like the main reason it's there, you know. Sorry?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like the magnitude of the loss job compared
Exactly.
to family members. Yeah, it's massive.
Oh my god, but you can go like I bet with you that we can stay speaking here for 1 month and I cannot say everything that I have on my head. And this is also not good because this is like when you have like a fucking your brain is like you never felt your brain like almost like fucking like everything is full, like it's a feeling of fullness that is inside your head that's almost like it's gonna explode. This is what I felt like a few months ago, and that's like I can't handle, man. I need time for myself. I need time to rest my head. I can't,
honestly,
because this is like the thing. Sorry.
It sounds a little bit. First of all, I have a similar style of thinking. I'm very flighty. I'm all over the place. I'm quick, and people often struggle to keep up with me. But I think that what you're describing sounds a little bit like mania, man.
Mania?
Yeah.
And like when you have. Sorry.
Oh, no, go.
No, you first, because I want to hear what you wanted to say.
Yeah, mania is like a psychological thing where your mood becomes elevated abnormally, and you sort of like, it's sort of as if you've taken a stimulant, right? Like you have like a very amped up thinking and speaking process, and you can be excited and reckless and stuff like that, and often you're very enchanted by the things you're saying. And people who are intelligent, who have mania, are often very creative, because you know, having a thinking style that jumps all over the place to begin with, and then having like going through like a, what would you call it, a phase mentally where your thinking is like, well, elevated, you know what I mean? Like it is, that's the technical clinical term, is elevated. When your mood's elevated, when your thinking is elevated, you know, it's sort of like a little bit of a
fucking like how do you say, like there are like, because I one thing that I was diagnosed when I was little is like hyperactivity, you know. And somehow I'm still hyperactive, and I can tell that when I speak, because I speak a lot, you know, like I feel this, but I can control the other aspects of like never wanting to be quiet, like to be still, never wanting to be doing this. One bad thing that I can tell about hyperactivity is like to do the same thing over and over. It's like killing me slowly over time. And this is a problem in the world, because like eventually, like for example, I'm gonna give you an example. I studied to be a travel agent. After this, first I wanted to be a doctor, right? Then I got to the point, for personal problems, I left school. I never lost like a year in school, so I had that capability. But like unfortunately, due to depression and due to other things from outside, you know, I quit. Then I was so happy. I was sad at the time, but then I was so happy, because when I studied to be a travel agent, I understood that I had like the affinity for languages. Because the difference now is like, I do not need to study to get an 18 or a 19 on this subject, when to have like a 13 or 14 on sciences and technologies. Like, because this is the thing, I had always the capability of being one of the best without having to try. And then I went to the high school, and I thought, I had sciences, so biology, it's gonna be the same. It's the same shit, right? So I do not need to study for this shit. So I thought I'm gonna get my 18, my 19, and I had a 10. And I was like, what the fuck, bro? But I was like, what the fuck? This is no longer like the school that I'm used to, bro. This is no longer gonna be like the way it's always been. But I got an average of 13, 14, I think, in sciences and technologies. But when I go to like to a travel agent course, I was so happy, because like I'm getting good grades. I don't need to study too much. Everything that they say sticks in my head. Good, right? Good. Unfortunately, due to like personal reasons, I had to leave the course, because I had to travel. And then when I traveled, I go back and I say, Look, I took more time than I said that I would, but if you want, I take an exam, and like for all the months that I didn't like, as I have not been here,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what they told me?
Well,
Not trying to sound like arrogant. I know you have the capability to, but we cannot allow it because there was a change in like the presidency of like the
mm-hmm.
government, so they changed some politics about this. Then I found another school, bro, that gave the same course, and still, you know what's the
Well,
thing? I would still have 1 year ahead of the course that I was. You know what's the
mm-hmm.
problem? You know, during the time of depression, I failed on math,
What's it?
so my math was behind. So for that like thing, I could not enter like the travel agency like
So
course.
why? Can I just ask
Still
you a
going a
question?
few steps ahead.
Why did you want to be a travel agent?
Sorry, because I had
Why
to go to Venezuela because my father had like some business there.
Oh, okay. So it was like a means to an end.
Exactly, let's say like that. Yeah, means to an end. Like some problems that needed to be solved and I needed to be there too.
Yeah, that
Then
makes sense. Okay,
going far
so
ahead on the future, bro. I go to the UK,
mhm.
and there I have, without any course, I have the chance to work as one of like the one. How do you say like it? There's travel agents, and you can be travel agent, and you can now work in hospitality. Right, hospitality. I think that's the name of. How do you call it? Like
Hospitality
some.
is like the service industry, like serving food and stuff.
No, hospitality. When I mean like when you work as like a front desk person on the hotel, a
Like,
receptionist. I could work as a
yeah,
receptionist,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I worked there, and I was like, look, I didn't know I was starting to do this, and in the end, I didn't needed like the course to do this. I'm doing it right now, and bro, I was like, I'm glad I didn't finish the course because this shit is boring as fuck. How
So
can
what are you doing
someone
now?
stay? Travel waiter. I was gonna say travel agent
Like,
waiter, but yeah,
yeah,
because
are
that's
you
another
studying
thing.
at the moment?
Hmm?
Are you studying at the moment?
No, I was working as a waiter, but then I quit my job. It was that thing that I said to myself, I need time, bro. I can't handle like need time. I
Have
can't
you ever
like it.
what do you want to do in the future?
Good question. If you can enlighten me.
I think
I
have you
just
ever
know
considered studying
the thing that
philosophy?
I hate the most and I love the most at the same time is people. So
Mm-hmm.
this is very
Have you ever
contradicting.
considered have
I
you ever
love
considered
people
studying
and I hate them at
philosophy?
the same time. Hmm?
But have you ever considered studying philosophy?
I don't know, man, because when I was in sciences and technologies, we had like philosophy and we had like all that ethics and morality about Kant and etc. And at the time, I did not show like any interest on it. And one of the like the jokes is like one of the things that interest me the most now. It's like philosophy, like and theology, and I'm like, what the fuck? Well,
Was what
this
sorry?
is the thing. The timing of what I decided it was always wrong. I always decided it on the wrong time. And I do not know, man. If you ask me, do you want to be a philosopher? And I say, why? All the philosophies are all written. What am I gonna like argue
That's
about?
not true.
I'm gonna do what, bro? But
Well,
what are you? What am I gonna do? Like I'm gonna like say like for example, I
listen.
remember three laws of morality.
No,
One
no,
says
no.
of freedom. One says that we all have like freedom. One says that we are never free, and the other say that we are free and we are but we are conditioned. What am I gonna argue about? What? Which one is right? You
Well,
see
yeah. First of all, yes.
yeah, that's the thing.
And
It's
second of
like,
all, no, but second of all, like the things that you've been saying about people and life, that is philosophy.
mm,
You just don't identify it as such.
I don't
Like
know,
you're
man.
telling me very insightful stuff. You're telling me insightful stuff about the nature of the world and the nature of people. The nature of people is psychology, and the nature of the world is philosophy.
I don't know, man, because like all the most kind acts that you can do, you do them unconsciously. You know, you do them if you really are a kind person. When you do something kind or compassionate, you do it without a second thought. You're not
Yes, but the
thinking
question
consciously
is,
about it. You're just doing it because you feel
mhm,
it's right. And when you feel
yes,
it's right, you can, like, I don't know, I like to write, for example, I like to write about like a for example, about like a poetry, and like I like to write about like a, for example, romance. Why? Because for me it's one of the most important things. In the end of the
Yeah, for
day, we
sure.
can all act tough, and we can all like try to look like the G and of our like hood, you know, like,
I
because
agree. I definitely agree. And
you
I
just
myself
do
write
those
poetry,
things.
and I'm writing a couple books, and I think like ultimately, like the stuff that you're saying indicates to me that you have a penchant for thinking, and you seem to think pretty clearly. And like my own experiences thinking clearly have taught me that learning to articulate what the rules are is helpful. It's very helpful because if you already know what's true and you know how to tell the differences between things, you know what I mean. If you're good at the dialectic, which it sounds like you are, learning the vernacular can be extremely
Sorry to
powerful in
interrupt you
terms
just
of.
now. I just see here, studied computer science and philosophy at Griffin University. Sorry, bro. Out.
What do you
Yeah,
mean?
I feel bad for saying that shit about philosophy now. Yeah, sorry, mate. No, you see, like the text that you sent me, it has here where you studied like philosophy.
Yes.
Yes, and I was like criticizing philosophy. What am I gonna argue about? And like then like you study philosophy, and I'm like,
Yeah, but
fuck.
that's fine. It's fine, man. I don't mind. Like, I think the thing is that you don't know a lot of the philosophy, but like, it seems like you only taught a little bit, and there's a lot to it. And like, you think, like I said, you think clearly. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah,
think,
I know what you mean. Like
knowing,
you question things, you try to look a logical answer, you try to
yeah,
express what you
yeah, like
think,
easily,
but
yeah,
then
that is the process of philosophy. You
yes,
just don't.
philosophy, philo plus phi, the seek of like knowledge.
Definitely. And like I
And
was
by the
saying,
way,
like you
like
showed me how.
her name was Sophia, which in my country means wisdom. So
That's
it's like
wicked,
calling
man.
like you falling in love for Sophie.
That is
Isn't like
awesome. That's
you,
awesome.
you want to hear like how God or the world sometimes is like sarcastic.
Mhm.
Her name was like Katia Sofia. And when I
Mhm.
went to Venezuela, I went to a city that was called Katia, the name of my first love. Isn't that funny?
It's definitely an interesting coincidence.
Yeah, like it's like one of those things that you okay, that's funny. I understand the sarcasm, God, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, but
Well, I mean, do you believe in God?
hmm?
Do you believe in God?
Yes. I'm more like I believe in God, but I do not believe like I do
Okay.
not how
How
do
do
you
you
say like
define God?
I don't know 100% for sure
That's
what
fair.
is the right
That's
like
fair.
story,
Yeah.
so to say.
Mhm.
But I do
Yeah, I
believe
get
in a
that.
higher power, yeah, because
Mhm.
it's a personal truth again.
How do you define God?
I'm gonna like all like they said, all knowing, all powerful, and everywhere at the same time.
But you
And
don't. Do you think that God is illogical?
no, his you cannot judge his logic based on the logic of a human being because you're
Yes,
thinking.
but.
Like I read this book that is called like brain and reality. So
Mhm.
your left brain devises, your right brain compiles. So all this image, this like all the like the images, the sounds, everything that surrounds you, you're compiling it with the senses that you have, right? So this is logic. So what they say is your body cannot show what is here with your senses. It cannot show you more than
Are you
you
sure?
already have knowledge
Are you
of,
sure?
right? I'm not 100% sure, but like I know that through meditation
Okay.
you can see more. You
Yeah.
can see more, and
Okay.
if you
Here's
go
the
and
question then.
search about it, bro,
Here's the
yeah.
question. How is it that we know things? Okay, so like when we look at the world and we
Mm,
evaluate it, right? We know some things about it, right? We have
mm.
science, and science is like this really cool, accurate way that we model the world that allows us to act in the world in such a way that we get what we want. Do you agree to
It's more like science is like because when I think of science, I look at this. When they want to prove an idea, they want to be able to explain to the world in a way that, like, there should be an experiment that could be replicated by anyone in the world in every point in time, and they would have the same outcome.
Yep.
When they do that, then that is the truth.
How do you know?
That is not because I tried the experiment. I did like they said. I questioned their logic. It had logic. When I experimented it, it worked. So therefore, it's real. But the problem is, like, science is always changing, right?
Okay, so then,
And like you said, how do I perceive the world? How I know what is true and is not? Because I can touch it, I can feel it, I can taste it, and I can like have a sense that it's here.
yes,
I'm feeling it,
correct.
with all my senses. That's why I believe it's real. But if I think like that, I cannot think like that God is real because I cannot see him, right? But I'm gonna give you an example that Doctor Who, for example, which was a series that I like. They give like this example on an episode that they had about like the afterlife, right? The guy says, imagine that all the babies inside the wombs of their mothers, they could talk to each other like we are talking right now, right? But when one of them was born, they thought it was it. They died. There's no more life. But yet, he is here. He is you right now, for example. This is just more life than you expected. Because you could have no knowledge about this life inside your mother's womb, right? So when you try to... This is very like fictionary, like fictional. But like when you try to think like this... Like through the spirit world, you can only know as much as the world shows you, bro. You can only have like...
Here's the question.
Sorry.
Okay. What does the world show us? Because the world doesn't show me what we manage to see in it. You know what I mean? Like when I look up at the sky, I don't see the things that we've managed to see. I see like, fucking... Well, I see material, I see space, I see time, I see particles. Things are moving, and I'm moving. Everything is moving.
You probably are more left, like the guy said, like you're more left brain. The left brain. People that mostly use their left brain tend to be more like how do you say, like in a good way. They tend to be more prompt for like sciences and to be more logical. And people with the sorry.
Just quickly. The left brain, right brain stuff. Okay, so the left brain is involved in linguistic processing and calculation, and the right brain is involved in creative stuff. But it's not as simple as most people seem to suggest. Like it's a lot. Like if you look it up, like it's very complicated, the science, and it's not as simple as like people being left brain.
Because each other help and compensate for other sides, for the other sides, Because they have like like the bridge that connects the two brains, which is like the corpus callosum. They have made some experiments. It's not like experiments. The subjects that had this side of like this connector of the brain had to be cut. Like they seen that like when they did tests with just the left eye and the right eye, they had some problems because like one was like seeing it, but he could not explain why. Because they are dependent of each other.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So we did actually get a little off topic because what we were talking about was the way that we know things, and what I was describing to you is that like perception is like nebulous. You know what I mean? Like things look a certain way to us. For instance, like when I'm looking at this like table in front of me. Right,
and you can look at the same thing and have a different idea than me because I will be looking for something different.
Yes, but I just want to like illustrate that we can have something in common which is different to what we perceive. Right? So like we perceive wood as like a solid object, right?
Okay.
But the thing is that in physics, we happen to know that like what we might call a solid object is actually made up of atoms, and that atoms are mostly free space. Right? So that like mathematically speaking, atoms are mostly free space, but because of the scale that we're looking at them on, they look solid to us, and when we touch them, they seem solid, yet we know for a fact that perception of the world isn't quite accurate, right?
Yes.
That it's sort of like an illusion of like the scale at which we perceive the world. Yeah, so what I'm saying is like the fact that we know, for instance, that atoms are mathematically speaking mostly free space is a way that we have come to know the world, which is a little bit beyond your perception of it, don't you think?
Okay, keep going, I'm following you.
Yep, so like we're using our rationality to see the world a bit more
Yes,
clearly,
but you're trying
then
to
we might be able to
rationalize the
achieve
world,
it.
but there are things you cannot rationalize. For example, the feeling
How do you
that you
know?
feel when you are in love. Like, for example, the Buddhists say that you are being conscious. Like some psychologists say that that happiness that you felt when you were in love is simply you being completely conscious about everything that surrounds you.
Is it?
But then you cannot be. Yeah, that's what they say. At least, like, who am I? But I agree with them. Why do lights like seem more bright? Why do you feel that like the butterflies in your stomach,
My
bro? That's
feelings feel
only
more bright to me is
physiology and
opposite compared to
psychology, bro.
some people have different understanding.
Tanzil,
Exactly,
Hello?
because
Tanzil,
we are
How
different.
are you?
We are different. We have different interpretations about like the same thing,
It's,
right?
no,
You
no, no,
might
no, no,
say
no.
it's emotional.
Some people, it's like it becomes an
Tanzil,
addiction.
listen,
Hello?
Tanzil. Okay,
Hello?
don't cut him off. You have a habit of cutting people off. I happen to be very much enjoying this conversation.
Yeah, but
Okay, don't cut
he
him
can
off.
participate on the conversation. He probably wants to
No,
transmit
no,
his idea,
I
and
know,
if he's
man.
gonna
I
do it in
know,
a
but
positive way, it's okay.
I know how Tanzil usually does it. He interrupts too much, and it's irritating when I'm trying to listen to you speak. Could you continue?
I fucking forgot. No, what I was saying is like oh my god, can you recapitulate like what I was
Yeah,
saying, bro? Because I was
Talk
talking.
about love.
basically, we were talking about perception and the difference between perception and truth.
Perception and truth. What's the difference between perception and truth? I think a truth is something that is like how do you say like a truth is something that can be proved, something that
It
was
can be
proven.
water.
A perception
No,
is
I don't
something
agree
that
with
no,
that.
for me a perception is something that you have an idea of. I
Mhm.
have a
Yes,
perception that
I
you are a
agree with that.
knowledgeable person.
Okay.
But probably when you start
Okay.
speaking like for example for a whole like 10 minutes, I find out this guy is an idiot. Like you will relate to this with
Yeah,
certain people, right?
Just
Okay.
quickly.
A truth is something, for example, is true. It's a truth that I need air to breathe. I need
Look,
oxygen to breathe, right?
I accept the dichotomy that you're illustrating, but I think that truth is it goes a bit further than that in terms of analysis.
See, but
Okay,
that's
so
your
what
perception.
you're
You're
describing.
trying to like
Well,
that's your.
yes, that is my perception. But let's see if you agree, right? So, like, what we mean when we say that something is true is something beyond what we can demonstrate now. As you said, what scientific truth is always changing, right?
But the truth doesn't
So, like,
need to
when we
be
say, like, we have
scientific,
no,
bro.
I know. I'm just saying, like scientific models are our most accurate models, and the scientific truth is always changing because when we're wrong, we update it. But what I'm saying is that truth, the concept that we're considering, truth itself, is something that is immutable, and it doesn't have anything to do with what we think of it or how we evaluate it. It has nothing to do with us proving it. Truth is something that is true because of its nature. It is existent in and of itself. It is self-defined. Like when we say, for instance, that 2 plus 2 is 4. That's true. And it's true independently of our postulation of it. It's something that is an immutable truth. If we weren't around to say it, 2 plus 2 would still equal 4 because it follows logically from the definitions. And there are certain rules that exist in the universe which we can grasp rationally that don't exactly like. It's difficult to see what the distinction is between perception and reality, but we've developed rules to tell when something's true and when something's not.
How do you explain this? Is a change of subject. How do you explain, for example, those dreams that you have that it feels exactly like reality, but yet you know it's a dream because you wake up?
Mm-hmm. That's a hallucination.
The truth is a fact, I think you want to say, but the
No,
fact is just an opinion.
No, what I'm trying to say is like
well,
I had dreams like walking through the street as I'm sit down here. Real is this, and you like living inside that reality, right? That for you is reality at that moment, at least. You call it an hallucination because it's a projection of something inside your mind.
Yes,
or like in your reality, because an hallucination can happen in reality when you're waking. Right?
Hallucination
it can happen, bro.
It
Through
can happen when you're
iteration,
conscious.
Yeah.
It can happen when you're conscious, for sure. Like, I just don't think that, like, you shouldn't say hallucinations happen in reality because they're happening in your head. They're not outside your head. Like, you're mistaken about the way things are. That's what a hallucination is. And that's sort of like what I'm getting at overall, is because truth is something which is the way it is, independently of anything that you think about it. And the things that we say are facts are merely our best guess at what is true. And what we subjectively articulate when we describe truth is sort of like a method for arriving at almost truth. But we don't have access to what is actually true, despite the fact that what we're aiming at when we model the world of science is something that is true independently of anything we think of it. And that's exactly why physics works, because it's not just mathematical conjecture. There's something about it that's actually consistent with the way the world is.
But like, there's not like but you will not be able to. Like the thing that you said right now, you try to seek for truth, right? But the truth that you are seeking is gonna be different from me. Like for me, you know, like.
I'm saying that like our truths are the same.
Yeah, but what you said right now, it's a truth. You just said you wanted to seek a truth. Yeah, but the thing that you said, you almost like put it like the way you express it. I agree, but it makes me. Yeah, sorry.
Perspective is always opinion, but truth can be only.
No. What I was gonna say is that the way he said it, it's almost like it doesn't matter how much I try to seek the truth. The truth is not like in our like grasp,
No,
I
didn't say that though, and I don't think it. I think that we.
But I think some truths are out of our grasp, bro. I believe that.
Yes.
Some truths are not.
Yes, but here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that you admit that it's possible that you're wrong about that, right?
Yes.
Yes. And so what I'm saying is, we don't know that any truths are out of our grasp. I respect that that's your opinion, but I happen to disagree. And isn't it better to figure it out? Like, let's talk about it, because maybe we can get to the bottom of the matter and figure out whether the things that seem out of our grasp are really out of our grasp, or whether we just don't know what our limitations are. Because I would say that we used to think
prove me that God exists. Give me even one path that probably can at least show me a little bit of his existence, for example.
I don't think that God is the correct word, but I believe in the transcendent, and I can demonstrate logically that it exists.
But like transcendent is what? Like you can transcend what? Your mind, your consciousness, your intelligence?
No. Nature is transcendent. Okay, the world is a lot access to.
So you think you can transcend this plane of existence or this world?
No.
What do you mean? Like I'm confused.
Okay, so we live in a physical system. Do we agree about that?
Yes. It's material. It's physical. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, no, it is according to physical laws. That's what I meant.
Okay. Yeah.
Like
the gravity, the time, etc. Space time. Yeah.
Yes, those are physical mechanics, right? So what I'm saying is like physical mechanics describe the way that things are in a physical universe, right? Do you agree to that?
Yes.
Yes. The one thing that physical mechanics don't do is they don't explain why there should be a physical system. They don't explain why there should be some physical mechanics at all. They don't answer that question. And so the process of answering that question is something called metaphysics. It's like sort of like the mechanics of why there are physical systems, if you follow me.
So it's like another like area to basically like explain why the existence of physical like mechanics.
Yes. It's like
why it is needed.
Yeah, exactly. And like in the study of metaphysics addresses the first principles of things.
Okay.
So one of the things that metaphysics deals with is the first principles of existence. And if we can figure out what the first principles of existence are, right, then we have a basis for everything else that we think is true. And those first principles of existence would be the formula for truth in some sense.
So the formula for truth would be the formula for God, because basically if you know the truth, you can recreate it.
It's God isn't the correct word.
Yeah, for example, imagine that you discover in some point in time how actually the Big Bang happens, what you need to create the Big Bang. Yeah, and they're trying to like people ask questions like, okay, this originated from a big like a ball of matter that like exploded and expanded, and it's constantly expanding. And people ask questions, but what happened like before like the Big Bang? And now they come with the string theory that says that the universe creates itself because it has the need to create itself, not because. Because they say that you have like these sort of layers between universes, and when they collide, they create what we call the Big Bang. So the question now is like, if what you're saying is true, what is like before like the layers, like what created the layers?
I can explain that.
Man, for me that's a lot of like, honestly, like for me that is a lot of like bullshit that people like are trying to. They're basically they're trying to look.
No,
I know the truth. Make me famous. Like, sorry.
Just give me a sec, right? Like, I agree with you. Lots of people are like that, all right? But you seem reasonable to me, all right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying I know the truth. I'm saying I have a good idea, all right? I have a pretty good idea, and the idea concerns the truth. So do you want to listen to the idea and tell me if you can see how it's wrong?
Yeah,
right?
please.
So
I want to be educated.
Yes. So in the beginning, there's either something or there is nothing. Do you agree?
But it cannot be. But if I believe in the Big Bang, I cannot say there was nothing because there had to be something.
I know, but let's leave that aside. Let's say like we're talking about like the origin of existence, right? The Big Bang could be like a development a long down the line. Okay, no. Let's say like there are only two possibilities. That's what I want to establish, right? There either was nothing or there was something. Do you agree?
Okay, yeah.
Like, there's no third option?
No. We just like thinking that there was nothing or there was something.
Yep. And like I'm just saying, like you can't think of a third option?
No, I'm not. No, because you told me to just think like this, or there was something or there was nothing. I'm just like putting me in a mindset that there is only these two options. There's no third, no fourth, no fifth.
No, but
it's just these two.
You to consider, like think critically about what I'm saying. So I want you to try to come up with a third option if you can.
If there was nothing or there was something, what is the third option?
No, I'm not saying there is one. I'm saying do your best. Try to figure one out if you can.
Honestly, like it's gonna take me a while, man. If I was gonna like think it, like I would have to think it through the night.
Of course.
But at the moment, there's nothing that comes to my mind. Honestly, out of the blue, no.
Awesome. I'm happy for you to like come back and we can discuss it again when you thought about it. But just quickly, like that's actually what's known as the law of excluded middle. It's one of the three like laws of thought, like the principles of classical logic, right? And so what it means is that something is either true or it's false, and it's not neither or both. Like there's no other option. It's either true or it is false. Do you agree with that?
But that's like because my philosophy teacher at the time, he said I was like too polar, you know, because I believed in polarity, that if there's good, there has to be evil. If there's like a true, there has to be false. And some things in life do not apply to this. Yes. There is a middle term.
Yes.
And like when I think about that,
I agree with that. I think that like it's nuanced, right? It depends on
because
the situation.
I think like this because like I'm being taught to think like this, but
here's what I'm saying.
The most creative people, like they think out of the box. They think like in a different way, you know.
Yes, but I'm saying that the key to being like good at being creative is to think creatively but clearly. And I'm saying that one of the ways that we know to think clearly is that we say, so if we're proposing something, right? We say that something is true by saying, I think this or this is true or whatever. You know,
that comes to my head is like this. Imagine that there's nothing, but there's nothing here as I know it. But who knows if outside this plane of existence there was something that I simply do not know. Some people call it gold, some people call it like God, but it can be something else that I still even like just don't have the knowledge or like the perception to talk about. Because you cannot assume like, for example, something outside your plane of existence, because it's going to contradict what like the science is about, because science is about this world, what you can see, what you can prove, what you call it truth, right? So that's why you have truth.
Yes, but I would say that
so there was nothing or there was something. But if you want to prove this too by just assuming that everything that was created inside this like this universe was originated in this universe, you're never gonna get a true conclusive like answer.
How do you know? How do you know that? What if you're wrong about it?
How can you prove me? Were you there?
Okay.
Did you experience it?
No, I don't have to be there, man. How did it happen at the start of the Big Bang? No one experienced that. Oh, but we model it, right? Don't we? We use math.
Exactly. But imagine that, like.
No, but here's what I'm saying. Maybe we can model this too. How do you know we can't?
I will not know until I try.
Exactly. Okay, so let's try to model it. So what I'm saying is there are two possibilities, right? Either there was something or there was nothing. And even if the something that exists is beyond your comprehension or imagination, it's still something, somehow. You know what I mean? It's a thing of some variety, even if you don't know how to talk about it. Don't you agree with that?
Yes.
There is either absolutely nothing, which is an absence of all things that could exist, or there is something. But don't you agree that an absence of all things that could exist is absence?
And what is really nothing? What is absence? Because
Yes.
like honestly, try
That's
to
what I'm
think
saying.
about absence, like absolute absence of time, space, even dark. Like if it's dark because it's the absence of light, but there's still something like left, you know.
Yes. What I'm saying is, like, so when we say something's absent in real life, right, we mean that it's not where it could be. Is that right?
Sorry, I did not pay attention. What did you say?
So when we say like an object is absent from, say, our desk in real life, we mean that it is not where it could be.
It is simply not within the grasp of the desk. When you say that, it doesn't mean it's not
Yeah,
like.
No, but I mean, like, the point is that it could be on the desk, but it isn't, right?
Yes, but it's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, what I'm saying is, like, to say that something is absent is to say that it does exist, but that it isn't here.
But the problem is, like, you're talking about an object and you're saying like it's absent there correct. Because you have a concept, but you have but
I agree. I'm just trying to, like, we agree about that. I agree with the distinction that you're making, right? Because you're saying that what I'm talking about when I say absolute absence is actually general. It's not specific, but what the example with the cup is specific, right?
The example that you give, it's like it's right, but like when you say that,
but it doesn't.
You said, for example, the object. Why you said the object? Because you have how do you say a perception, and it's in within your grasp. So you have like a sort of knowledge that this object exists. So this object is near. So the thing is, like, we're talking about something I can see that like for me it's real, but you cannot like apply that. For example, you cannot say that was oh my god, this is because we're gonna go into like a confusing ground, you know, like for me at least. But like because you're saying the object, why it's an object. If there was nothing or there was something, for you to, because we're again, the problem that I'm having is we're thinking with like with what we have here right now.
Just give me one sec, right? I think I understand, right? You're saying that if there was actually nothing, there wouldn't be an object to be missing. Is that right?
Exactly.
Yes.
So if there was nothing,
right?
You would, there was nothing. Absence, total absence. What is total absence? If you does.
No, that's what I'm saying. Let's say, like, let's examine what absence is in specificity, and we'll see if we can extrapolate from that to the general definition. All right?
Okay, absence, the state of being away from a place or person. This is wrong. I do not agree with this.
Listen. Absence, is that an idea? It's an abstract concept, isn't it? And an abstract concept is a thing. Do you agree?
But even like when you think about absence,
no, just answer the question. Do you agree to that? An abstract concept is a thing.
But if it's abstract, it's like perceivable.
I'll let you say
no.
that.
I will say no. I will say no.
So, okay, quickly, an abstract concept, it must be a thing inside your mind. Do you agree to that?
I cannot answer that, honestly.
Let me put it to you like this. When I say, for instance, that a cup is absent from my desk, right? You know what I mean, don't you?
Yes.
Yes, so absence is attached to a meaning, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so now let's think about that, all right? So if absence, and the meaning expresses a state of affairs, do you agree to that?
Sorry, you had some cuts, bro. Can you repeat it?
The meaning expresses a state of affairs.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is that for that state of affairs to be related with the word, right, the state of affairs has to consist of a condition. Do you agree?
Yes.
Yes, and the condition is being not there, essentially.
Being what? Sorry?
being not there, like being away, not exactly being away.
Not present. Yeah.
Yes.
Agree.
Yes. All right. So what I'm saying is that for us to have absolute absence proposes that there is a state of affairs, and if there is a state of affairs, then there is something that is present.
Okay.
The condition of absence, which is the abstract idea that we connect with the word, if we say that the condition of absence is absolutely true, something is true, and that thing is not absent. And absence has to be present in order for us to say that there is an absolute absence, because that's what the language means.
Yes. See, you're just like you're just saying exactly what I'm saying, but like in a more like a clearer way, like so to
that's
say.
what I'm trying to do.
Exactly, but like that's the problem that I have, because that's exactly it. To say absence, like even the concept of absence is attached to like something. Like in my mind, it's thinking like that. Okay, why we think about absence? Because like some guy, so it has an orange, so it's not absence. You know, it's like contradictory. You know, like if
yes, exactly. You agree. Absence is contradictory.
Yes.
Right? That's the first premise. All right.
Just give me a second, because my mama arrived, bro. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, we're just negotiating dinner. What is gonna be made, and I will have to do it. Yeah, but I will do. I have a look. You already fucked me up with my friend, so it's gonna be 1 hour and a half of like debate. So I agree with what you just said right now. What you said has logic.
Yep. So what I want to do with that is I want to say, okay, let's return to our previous question. The question was, like in the beginning, there was something rather, or there was nothing, right? Those are the only options, and it's got to be one.
Yes.
You agree? Yes, and we just agreed that nothingness is contradictory. Don't you agree to that?
Yes, based on what you said, yes.
Something that is contradictory cannot be true. Therefore, there must have always been something. Do you agree?
Oh my god, all my brain cells are like fucking like, because I cannot prove it, you know, even if I believe it.
No, but you can think, listen. It's called a proof by contradiction. What we're doing is we are considering if the opposite thing could be true.
So we're thinking outside the box with no like thing limiting our reasoning. Is that it?
No. We're using one of the laws of thought. We're saying the law of non-contradiction is true, right? You can't contradict yourself and be correct about anything. Like if you're contradicting yourself, the thing that you said is automatically untrue. That's the law of non-contradiction, right?
Okay.
So what we're saying, right, let's consider the opposite of what we think is true. And if we can show that thinking the opposite is contradictory, then we show that the thing we think is necessarily
let's
true.
assume that what you said is correct. If nothingness or absence cannot truly exist because it's attached to something, there was always something. But how this always something like originated?
Yes, and I can explain that as well, believe it or not. So
I'm all ears, bro.
I assume you know how uncertain knowledge is.
Uncertain?
Like we can't know things for sure.
Yes. Science cannot be 100% sure. Even scientists like Richard Hawkins says that you cannot ever be 100% sure. I can give you a quick example. I learned on school, for example.
I know that. I know the principle, and like that's what I'm talking about. Actually, uncertainty is a thing. We both agree about that. Yes. We're never certain about anything. So basically, it sort of goes like this, right? Like, so there's very little that you can actually trust very much, because do you know who Descartes was?
Descartes, yeah.
Yeah.
I heard about his name, but I'm not like, it's not ringing a bell like right now, honestly. So I'm a little bit off the topic of like the...
That's okay. Listen, he came up with this line of reasoning that is probably like the most famous line of reasoning anyone. And it goes like this, okay? It goes, I doubt, therefore I think, therefore I am, thus I exist.
Yeah, we have that in Portuguese, yeah. The moment you said it, eu penso, logo existo. I think, therefore I exist, yeah. Yeah, I know
No,
that.
no,
That's
no.
very famous. But we meme it a little bit.
The first statement is actually really important, okay, because that's the reason that it's valid. So basically what Descartes did is he tried to use proof by contradiction on everything. And what he found was, well, not exactly, he tried to doubt everything. That's more accurate, right? What he found was that in the process of doubting, it was impossible to doubt that he was doing that. Do you know what I mean? Like if you doubt
like
something,
thinking the same way that we are like describing the other like things.
Yes, sort of. Yeah. Like, so if I say I doubt something, so I doubt that I exist is only possible if you exist to say it.
Yes, I understand what you say.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So basically, he used deductive reasoning on the proposition I doubt, and then he went, okay, I doubt. What does I doubt mean? I doubt means I think in a way that means that I don't trust the information as it presents itself to me, but that means that I think. So therefore, I think. And then he said, okay, so what does I think mean? I think means like I have to think, you have to be. Basically, you have to exist in order to think. You can't have a thought if you're not there.
Yes, I'm
So he
here.
said, okay, so yep. He said, I think. He said, I doubt, therefore I think, therefore I am. And then he said, okay, I've concluded that I exist. Basically, he said, thus I exist. Right? And this is like one of the most famous lines of reasoning ever created. And the reason for that and he developed a thought experiment, which basically went like this. You could, everything that you perceive, everything you think to be true, could be the consequence of some powerful demon outside of the universe that you exist in, who is like contriving to make everything seem the way it is, even though it's actually not that way in truth. And it's just an illusion that is like put on you by the malevolent powers of a demon, let's say. Right? So do you know what that shows?
But that's exactly the thing that was contradicting what I was thinking, because I was thinking the same way, because I was thinking about like a higher like entity that was outside this like this existence that I can have no proof of. But yes, I agree that sometimes reality can be perceived as like an illusion.
Yes. So
because like I said, like your senses, your senses, you can feel this reality because of your senses.
Yes.
If you think like that, who tells me that these senses were not given to me to feel this way?
Here's the thing.
And this life is not.
Here's the thing.
Sorry, I'm going like
okay.
through.
Okay. So that was a thought experiment proposed over 300 years ago.
Can I stop you just to say, like, I'm really amazed of like the knowledge that you have, like, of these things, you know? Like, I'm really like, what the fuck? I'm like, you're speaking, and I'm like, I'm just like a sponge right now, like absorbing everything.
I appreciate that.
Please keep going on.
I've been talking about this for a long time. So basically, that idea, that thought experiment, is called Descartes' demon, and it spawned him to propose the view called Cartesian skepticism, and then he formed a foundationalist view in consequence to the Cartesian skepticism view, because obviously you have to think something. So he took to be foundational the proposition that he existed. And that's fair, okay? Because the thing is that actually is a firm as fuck foundation. It is very difficult to propose that you do not exist, because in order to do so, you presuppose your existence. Right? Like, you can't say it unless you're here somehow. You know what I mean? Like, it's very difficult to propose that you don't exist. Yeah, really hard. But we still don't know for certain what existence is, or that we like exist in the sense that we think we do. So we say everything is uncertain, right? So basically,
I'm hearing you.
The thing is,
because when when you Google existence, it says de facto state of living or having objective reality.
So, like,
but it is
somewhere, right? You have to start somewhere. So I think, thinking that you exist is a pretty good place to start if you're going to start at the minimum. You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty good first position. But I think that the thing is that philosophy is basically about trying to identify the assumptions underneath the things that you propose are true. That's one of the main purposes of philosophy, to figure out what's true by looking at what you are assuming in order to arrive at a correct conclusion. Do you know what I mean? And so, like,
you have to prove it through a thesis. Yeah.
When I think about I doubt, therefore I think, therefore I am, thus I exist, I think that I can reduce that to two more foundational propositions. Do you want to hear what they are?
Yeah. But these are like from your own like reasoning?
Yes. This is an original. So basically it is data exists. That's the first proposition. Logic exists is the second proposition, right? And so just quickly let me define those terms. Right? So like data in general means like any a piece of data, right? Like data means, one or more pieces of data.
Just wait, I need to. I feel like I need to write this, bro. So I understand. Okay,
no, okay. You don't have to write it down, man. I've actually written it down already. I can send you a copy of it.
So, but just give me a second, because I'm actually like interested in what you're saying.
Yeah. Just if that helps you follow the reasoning, then yeah, that's a good idea.
So what is data for you in your like thing?
Sorry. Okay, so data is a set of one or more pieces of information about a topic that aren't interpreted. Right. So information is like when you look at the world and you to like inform yourself, right? That's what we call information. It's the world after you've looked at it is information to you, right? But the thing is that information, like that's sort of like the word that we call it after you've integrated it, and before you integrate it, it's data, right? It's uninterpreted information that exists independently of you that you observe in order to inform yourself, right? So information before you interpret it is called data. And so when I say data, sorry?
I'm hearing you.
Oh yeah, fair enough. So basically, what data means in the most fundamental sense is non-contingent, uninterpreted information. Those three words, non-contingent, uninterpreted information. And it is the essence of existence. Okay, and then the other part of existence is called logic. Well, logic means a couple things. So let me quickly explain what I mean by it. So logic, in the subjective sense, means that it means sort of like the system we use to model the world, and also the system we use to improve that model. Like logic is like coherent formal reasoning, so to speak. And we basically arrived at like the method of logic by like observing the world, mapping with language the consistencies that we could exist and the principles involved in having such consistencies, right? Because the world is consistent.
Yes, because like this thing. Sorry, I'm breaking your line out.
It's okay. And so essentially, when we say logic, we're referring to a model of consistencies that exist in the environment. And when I say logic in this sense, what I mean is the consistencies themselves. So logic is used in a very general way where it means structure, right? The logic of the universe is the fact that the universe has a consistent relational structure. It all relates, like all of the pieces of the universe relate consistently to its basis. And it is structured in the sense that it has certain mechanics that we map with physics, chemistry, biology, the sciences, right? And so essentially that's the form of existence. And so the argument goes something like this. Like if I can describe to you like what the elements are, give you a description that you can accept, right? And then I can show that like how I'm defining them means that they are necessarily true, because assuming that they're false leads us to a contradiction. And when we put those two elements together, we can explain how the universe is here. Then is that coherent? Is that coherent enough in your opinion?
Go on.
Okay, so I told you what data and logic were, right?
And so I have it here, assertive on one more pieces of information that is uncertain and interpreted, non-contingent information, and logic system we use to model the world and improve it. And information is interpreted after data, because before information we had data. Yeah, that ties on with what you said. Logic
is more than just the model that we're using to interpret. Logic
I just resumed like the things that you said, like. So it's here, so I can follow them and hear what you're gonna say after it.
Do you have the bit about objective logic down?
Objective logic. No. Wait.
So objective logic is the consistencies that exist in the environment independently of our perception of them. Right? So like the universe has a certain structure, and we model that structure with our systems of thought, but the structure of the universe is what I mean by general objective logic.
So consistencies are on the universe independent of subjectivity, because it is true. Yep. It cannot be denied. Okay.
So basically, so the reason that data is non-contingent is that we agreed there has to be either something or there has to be nothing. We concluded that there couldn't be nothing, and anything that exists has to be like composed of information in some capacity. Because information is the most general form, it's the most general name that we give to things that are. Like they consist of properties or characteristics which we describe, like based on the fact that we perceive the information of their existence, right? But like insofar as they exist, they consist of the data that we then perceive. And so like having an existence is consisting of data, because whatever your existence is defined by, data is so general as to apply to it anyway.
Yes.
Yep. So data then has to exist, because whatever it is has to be made of information. Right? So then information is actually one of the foundational elements of existence, in my opinion, like uninterpreted information, which I'm calling data. And so then we can do a proof by contradiction on that one, and we can say, okay, what if there was no data? Right? So like there's absolutely nothing. We get the same nothingness again, but we can approach it a slightly different way. What if I say, if there was no data, observation would be impossible? Do you agree with that? Yes. But the thing is, observation is impossible is an observation.
Yes, because to observe, there has to be something that I can see. Yeah, exactly. It's an object. Exactly. It proves existence to observe.
Exactly. And so then it can say that. So if there was no data, then it would be true to say observation is impossible. But the fact that we can say if there was no data, it would be true to say anything, means that there has to be data in order for that proposition to be true.
Because it's impossible to never have something?
No, because if we say like a hypothetical observation that you could make about the non-existence of data is observation is impossible, but then we say, okay, observation is impossible is an observation, and observation relies on the existence of data before the observation is made. So in order to observe that there is no data, and it's possible to do so if there is no data, because we both agree that it would be a true observation to say observation is impossible. If it is possible for someone to say something that is true in an observation, that means that the observation has to be related to some data which is already there.
That then will be information after being interpreted. But since it doesn't have an interpretation, we assume that it's data. And you can.
But what I'm saying is that
even this thing that you're saying, you can like apply it like to the world itself. Like the things that you don't know can be considered data. Even like the theology that we are speaking, it can be data. Sorry, because I'm talking to you and I'm talking to my mom.
Okay. I think that's accurate. I think that, data refers to everything and anything. That's the beauty of it. It's a word that is so versatile that it actually captures the essence of existence, because when you define data properly and say that it is non-contingent, because it is necessarily true that data exists since nothingness isn't possible, then, and you add the element of logic, okay, which you can also demonstrate with a proof by contradiction. And I'm not sure that we nailed that proof by contradiction down. So what I was saying was that observation relies on the pre-existence of data. Do you agree?
Yes.
Yes. And it's possible, if there is no data, to say observation is impossible. Is that accurate?
Because observation requires something to observe.
Yes, so it follows logically from the proposition that there is no data that observation would be impossible. Do you agree?
Yes, impossible without something to observe, yeah.
Yes. But for us to say, as a hypothetical, that it would be possible to say that observation is impossible is the act of observation. Do you agree?
Like observation without data is impossible. Is that what you're saying right now?
No. What I'm saying is, for us to say that observation is impossible is a proposition that can be made if there's no data, means that we're making an observation about
what is true. Yes, it's true.
Yes, and so for us to be making an observation about there being data means that we were wrong to begin with, and there has to be data, correct?
Yes, there has to be something.
Yes. So it's another way to demonstrate that there has to be uninterpreted information. Right? So that's why it's non-contingent. Right? And then the logic part of it is basically our best theories of physics are the theories of relativity. Do you agree?
Sorry, because just give me a second. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry, because because I'm like
Okay,
you're
man.
talking about these things that you need to be 100% focused, like to understand, and you have someone talking on the left side of you. It's very like it makes your brain like you know how this works. But no, like you can speak now, and I'm 100% to 10. Can you repeat what you said?
Yeah, I said that our best theories of physics are the theories of relativity.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You're
So
talking about
Einstein came up with the
Einstein's
theories of.
theory of relativity. It has to be one of the most well-known ones. Yeah.
Well, yes, he made two theories of relativity, but yes.
I know the one
And
about the time passing by with a beautiful woman. It's different from with an ugly woman. I always love the example.
well, that's an example of time dilation, which is a real phenomenon, but it's not quite the same when it's a psychological thing as when it's a space-time thing. But like ultimately, like the idea behind his theories was the principle of relativity. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Yes. And the principle of relativity is that things that exist relative to other things.
Yes, but
Yes.
there has. But again, you go to the same.
I
All
know.
this you're
It's
saying.
the specificity thing, right? It's the specificity thing, right? Yeah, I'm just establishing like a context before we get to.
When you say like you just cut me, and I understand where you want to go.
Yeah. So yes. What was I saying? Relativity.
You were saying that existence requires the
In the context of information, we would say that an information requires a relative context in order to exist.
And it needs also an observer. Sorry.
No. Oh, information. Sorry, but what I mean is data on any subject. Has to relate to a subject in order to be data.
Yes.
Right. So there has to be a relative context for everything that's true. Right? Yes. And so what I'm saying then is that we can deduce from that relativity is involved fundamentally in truth.
Yes, because there has to be something. If there is, yeah.
So what I'm saying then is that relativity is actually the base of truth. It is the primary principle of existence. And if you want to check that, then the proof goes something like this. Things are either true or false, but something that like true doesn't even mean anything without the relative opposite of false.
Which is logic. Oh my god, bro! Like that's like I'm looking like my head is dun 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 because like what you're saying, it's like every time you add something, it makes like you're like almost like sort of compiling everything, and like this is like a cycle, like a cycle.
Yep.
But like it makes me remember what you said about the cart, like it's contradicting,
Exactly. It's a context. I try to derive general definitions because they're most useful, right? If you know the general definition, you can tell how to use a word based on adapting your use to the variables of a specific situation, right? So like if I say that, for instance, I've given an example on this before. If I say that the cup is absent, right? There is no cup, for instance. Then what I mean is that there is a cup, but it's not there. And if I say, for instance, that I have no money, I don't actually necessarily mean that the amount of money that I have is negligible, but I do indicate that I have absent a significant amount of money, right?
Yeah, therefore proves the thing that is relative is relative to something.
Exactly. Yes. And so when we're looking at relativity, right, I'm saying that it's actually at the basis of logic. And so if you want to examine that, the way we say, well, logic is about what's true and false. Do you agree?
Yes.
Yes. And true and false only exist insofar as they oppose one another with a relative, like they have a relative opposite relationship. They are opposites, right? And that means that they relate to one another in the sense that, they're different in every axis, as different as they can be in every axis.
Like dark matter, what they call the God matter, and etc. And there's the other opposite, like I don't remember the name that I wanted to say this when you were talking, but I forgot. They say there is God matter, and there is another thing. I don't remember the name of it. That when you put them together, they cancel each other. So that is absence. What they are trying to prove. Because I was watching like a Richard Hawkins, like
Richard Dawkins.
Interview. Dawkins, sorry. I don't know why I said because I remember always Stephen Hawking. But like he was saying that one of his friends, like a physicist, is like talking about like an experiment that he did about like a God matter and another type of matter that cancel each other, and therefore that's the absence, and that justifies the Big Bang.
Yeah, that's
what
true.
they were trying to propose, but it never came. Yes, because it never came to light. But they were talking about this, and it was coming to my head.
So basically, what that is that's a really, really common idea. That is it's the second last step before you understand how the universe exists. And it's something like this. It's like, okay, once you recognize that nothingness is impossible, the first way that you try to explain it is by saying the impossibility of nothingness causes everything. But that is not technically valid, because the whole point is that you're saying something's impossible. It can't cause anything if it's not possible, right? So the correct explanation is everything always existed because it had to, because the only alternative was impossible.
Okay.
And so what basically, if we accept that relativity is the basic structure of everything, right, and we accept that data, uninterpreted, non-contingent information, is the basic essence of everything, then I have a very simple deductive argument to show how we get to this universe.
An idea, yeah. Very, very like rustic, because it still needs to be developed, but yeah. And you can even explain the afterlife as data.
I don't personally think that there is an afterlife, but the way that I conceive of time means that
exactly the way that you defined it, you can
listen to this. The way that I conceive of time means that every single moment in which you exist always exists. So you currently exist in your past and your future. And the only thing that leads you to think that this is the only moment that exists is that it's an illusion of your perspective.
So I am on the past, the present, and the future at the same time.
Yeah, so like think of like a video on your computer, right? It has like a timeline of events, doesn't it?
So I'm thinking about something that was on the past, but I'm right here, right now. But how can it be?
Just think about the video. Just think about the video for now, okay? So the video has a timeline, right?
Yes.
Yes. And when we play the video, things change, but then when we play, change in the same way. And so like the moment it's playing is like something that you are like focusing on, right? And then the rest of the moments still exist even when they're not the specific moment that's being shown to you, right?
Oh my god, this sounds like fucking theories of conspiracy, bro.
It's not a conspiracy, man.
Yeah, but like the way you say, yeah, I'm watching, for example, right now I'm thinking about the video I watched with a friend of mine, the time 666. And I can't. No, I'm actually remembering.
The reason that things change in the same way is that timeline is in the code of the file on your computer, and when you play it back, your like video player is sort of like arbitrarily selecting a moment to display to you, and then like the changes that occur are encoded into the video. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Yes. So physics is the code of our universe, and it entails the Big Bang, and it entails space-time, right? And space-time like has a timeline. Do you agree to that?
If space-time has a timeline, yes. Because it has to have a beginning and an end. It's between some barrier of reality, It's like we are in a bubble of space-time,
So what I'm saying is that as a consequence of the two elements we were talking about before, the fundamental elements, as a logical consequence of that I can explain to you, right? The timeline always exists, and insofar as the timeline always exists, your experience of the present moment limits you only to the present moment, but every other moment of your life exists for eternity, and you exist within it.
Like, okay, like I'm on the years. Like what I'm thinking right now is like I'm being recorded.
So
even when I die, like my atoms are gonna go back, and like I will be always here.
When you die, no, listen. When you die, you're gone, right? But you're only gone. And if the timeline is always there, then you always exist in the moments that you are alive. So, since life is suffering, and we seem to agree about that, don't you think that since you're stuck with your experience, you don't just get to leave, right? If it was eternal, right? Every moment you ever live existed forever, and you had to always endure every terrible thing that ever happened to you, wouldn't you want to make your life worthwhile enough to justify the suffering that you went through?
Oh my god, because like you're speaking so much, and when I like in a way that like it's like you the way you're speaking, it's like people want to justify the end. People don't want to end. People want to have
that's not
more.
what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like we can tell that the way that we think about time is illusory. Do you agree?
Yes, that I agree, and it's relative. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When we say then that time is a dimension of physics, if we can say logically, not because we want to, but because it follows rationally, if we can say that physics always exists, then every moment in time always exists, and it has nothing to do with our subjective want for that to be true. And lots of people wouldn't want it to be true because it means that the people who had horrible lives are always experiencing their horrible lives.
So we are always like cycling through the same moments during all existence? Is that
No. Not cycling. No. Like you currently exist so when you remember something, that moment is still happening. You just don't have access to that bit of the timeline anymore.
Because I'm going in a straight line?
Yes, because you perceive time linearly.
But do you believe that there's a me? So do you believe there's a me that was talking to you 5 minutes ago in another far how to say behind me on my timeline?
Listen. So yeah. In another part of space-time, in the past, right, which is another part of space-time, because space-time is a thing that exists at every moment, not just in the moment that we exist. In the past, we are still talking, just like we're talking now, and we always will be.
But this is going to be a cycle, because then in the past,
it's not a cycle.
Then explain to me.
It's not a cycle because it doesn't happen again. It always happens, or every moment is happening, right?
So it's eternal. It's always repeating, forever.
No, it's not repeating. Listen. The reason that repeating is that repeating suggests it goes start to finish and then again. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the perception that you have of going from start to finish is a consequence of your perspective, but the universe is not going out, it's staying still.
So it's there. It's like a picture behind me that it's always there.
Yeah, the universe exists. Existence.
So it's
eternal.
a record, like something that was recorded. Yes. That information is there. I simply do not have access to it.
Yes.
But I can get access to it, for example, when I think about that moment and an image pops out in my head. That still the scientists cannot prove what causes that image to come to my head.
Well, you have a continuity of identity. That means that when you think about previous moments in your life, you can sort of conjure up sort of a representation of what they were like.
If you think about it right now, you can summarize your life in 12 or 13 pictures inside your brain. You can think about it. Some people will think, okay, when I went to school, when I got married, when someone close to me, you know what I mean. I don't need to
do you agree that it's a representation?
It makes sense, but I'm just having some problems with the fact that
mentally
it's there. But how can I prove that?
No, I'm not asking you to prove it yet. I'm just saying, mentally, you represent events.
If it has some logic, what you're saying, yes, and I'm following your your rationalization.
Excellent. Okay, so what I'm saying is something all right. So if there's a multiverse, and we can prove that the multiverse exists, right? Then if the multiverse exists eternally, then all of the universes that are logically possible exist in the multiverse, right? Which would be our universe. And then the way that they exist is almost as if they were on a universal hard drive, right? Because it's almost like a natural simulation, right? The file is there, the multiverse means that all of the individual possibilities exist. And then because the multiverse is eternal, the timeline exists eternally. And for the people, the subjects, you and I, humans, animals, for those who are constrained within the limitations of space-time, it feels as if this moment and this moment alone were actually happening. But when we model it abstractly, we can say for sure that that isn't true.
Out. That is like a blow, like, but it has logic because, but again, it like I do not want to contradict you, but here is like the thing is we're talking about things we do not have a way to prove, but logically it has logic because you can prove, like, if you talk to anyone that has a brain and understands you, like, he will agree with you. He will only have problems once, like, the guy asks, okay, prove it, give me proof. That is a truth, you know.
Yeah, but don't you agree that proof has different criteria depending on what?
But if you think about that, you didn't
let me put it like this. Let me put it like this. Okay, so when we're talking about the origin of the empirical environment, right, we're talking about something.
Can you just tell me what's the empirical environment? Can you describe? Give me a definition. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the environment of, physical that we describe with science. Science is empirical philosophy. It's called empiricism, and we use science to describe the empirical environment, which is like the world as we perceive it, not necessarily through our senses, but through our measurements.
Okay.
Empirical observation, right? Like it involves like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
sorry, I'm just like trying to connect all the pieces of information that you give inside my brain. That's the thing that I do. I try to connect everything, so I make like a big picture inside my head, so I can understand it. That's how I learn things.
That's how
so what I'm trying to think is like about the thing that you said about like not being like how do you say? I even put it here. Not being subjective. It's empirical. It is measured. It can be proven. Yeah, that's what you mean by that. Okay.
Okay, so the empirical environment, apart from me, essentially, and the empirical means like to do with observation and measurement, and it involves falsification of theories, right? Like science obviously involves falsification of theories. So the empirical environment is based on your perception, but actually how it is, right? And so what I'm saying is that when we're talking about the reason, like the mechanics that are responsible for the existence of the empirical environment, right? Whatever test we perform on the empirical environment, it won't get under the hood and test the mechanics that are responsible for it. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Yes. So it's sort of like, it's that Descartes' demon thought experiment again, right? Like, so if we say like, anything
but everything
can
but everything can only be validated if it's under like you said, the empirical measures of science, which is the measurements, like the centimeters, the meters, like all the equations and blah 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 that we came up with every day, like
So what I'm saying is that this kind of theory, it's not actually a reasonable option to say, well, prove it empirically, because the thing that I'm talking about can't be proved empirically. But that doesn't mean that we can't demonstrate logically that it's true. Do you agree with that?
Yes. Because what you're talking about is like in your terms, it's data. It's something that is not still interpreted. It's out of like what is our reality. Even if we think about the example of the babies that I give to you, that's also like it cannot be proven, right? It can, even if it was right, it cannot be proven.
Correct. So the question is, okay, why is it that some of our models are better than others? What did we say? Do you remember?
What?
Why is it that some of our models work better than others? Why is science effective when mysticism isn't?
Because science, like you said, can be proven. Science is like
close.
Sorry?
I said close. Continue.
Like, because science can be interpreted in like you said right now, science can be proven under like the interpretation of like the measurements of the empirical measurements that you have right now, and can be proved through tests that can be replicated over and over again. For me, that's like, at least to my knowledge, like that is available inside me. Like, that's all the answer that I can give to you.
Yeah, look, it's
Man, because it's like you said, they're all like they're all I exist. Like, it's like it is here. I can touch, I can see, I can feel it. It exists. It is here. It's reality, right?
So, like, look, that's close. It's not precise enough. The correct answer is consistency with the environment. Right? It's not that you can prove that makes it true. It's that it is consistent with the environment. Like, independently attempt to evaluate proposition. A proposition is true if it is consistent with what is. Do you agree?
Yes. So you're saying that it's
Yes.
not subjective.
Correct.
Okay, because
Right,
like
so
you're giving me so many terminology, I'm trying to keep it inside my fucking head.
So what we mean something is true is we mean this appears to me as a subject to be true, and that means that we're not sure about it, that it's the best conclusion we can reach using the evidence that we have available to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like what we're saying, the difference between that and what's actually true is that what's actually true has nothing to do with the conclusions you can reach about it, right? It's just the thing that you're reaching conclusions about. And insofar as your conclusions are consistent with that thing, then your propositions have truth. Do you agree?
Yes, logically, yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So then what I'm saying is, even though we can't demonstrate such a theory empirically, right? Then whatever it is, right? We agree that consistency is a hallmark of truth. So if it is possible, if it's possible to model what's really and actually true, even though we will have to do it imperfectly because we're subjects, if it's possible to produce an accurate model, then whatever that model is, it will be irrefutable insofar as it completely matches everything about reality. Do you agree?
If you could produce the module, yes.
Yes. So then what we say is test such a model is by doing our very best individually to refute it. And if nobody can refute it, then it is our best guess at truth. Do you agree?
Yes, but like when you bring up a theory, the first thing that you have to do is always try to prove it wrong. You always have to prove it wrong. And when you do not have any clue of how, yeah.
Here's what I'm saying is that it's not reasonable to test, prove it wrong.
Man, but like going to that, we can all like, for all I know, we can be all like let's say like a software program like that was put here and somehow it auto evolved and like then suddenly we're trying to like to wonder what created us, what made us, why are we here, what is this, and then there is this guy that doesn't even care about this program and yeah, like it's almost like a conspiracy theory that like
just let me put it. Okay, so like I don't disagree with anything that could be true, but if you agree that science in some sense models truth, do you agree to that?
99%, bro. Like 99% of the truths of the world are by science.
So let's assume, okay, because we don't have any options really. Let's assume that we can observe it is connected somehow to what's true. Are you willing to do that?
Of course, yes. Because if it's gonna make me get like more enlightened about life, then when I use my reasoning, I try to apply it to existence, and it makes sense. It's then truth. It can somehow be proven.
Exactly. That's what I mean, though. If the model that we're proposing, all right, if there can be a, and we don't know that there can, since science seems to like model, roughly speaking, what truth is. If using a scientific philosophy or a philosophy that's quite similar to science, right? If using that kind of philosophy, you can come up with an explanation that actually does the job, that explains why and how there are things, and that as it passes from person to person, it's tested mentally because they try to refute it and fail to do so, right? Because as we agreed, the truth would be irrefutable. If it is possible to subjectively articulate the truth, then we could not disagree with it.
Can I ask you a question? Did you propose this to one of your teachers, like to get like his opinion? Honestly,
I've proposed it to everybody intelligent that I've ever, and everybody who has given me their opinions has told me that they're not qualified to assess it, but they can't tell me how it is wrong.
Yes, because I'm here and I'm thinking the same thing. Because the way you're putting things is making me like feel like I'm gonna be talking about things that I cannot like I cannot explain. I have no knowledge of, because I do not have knowledge of what it is outside of my existence, space or time, how you can call it. Yes, it gives you almost like a sense of inferiority when you like try to judge it because you can't.
I understand, but look, I'm not asking you to provide an ultimate. You're a smart guy. You know some things, okay? And I'm asking you every step of the way if you agree with me. So if I made a mistake you would tell me, right? You tell me. So when I reach a conclusion that you're not sure about, but I have checked with you every step of the way, then even if you don't know for sure that the conclusion is true, I showed you logic and we just have to talk about it more.
The thing that my brain started to try is to apply it to, like, for example, to realities that, like, I like. For example, like the programs thing that I was like saying to you, I was thinking like about like a sort of like a conspiracy theory. Then I was thinking, for example, I can explain the afterlife, like I can justify the afterlife as data.
What if I say this, right? So if we say that this could be a simulation, or it could be the result of its powers, and I agree, right? Then what I say to you is that demon or that computer system has to exist inside a reality, and that reality has to make sense. So even if we cannot know that this is base reality, there is a sufficient reason that exists, and we can figure it out by studying the structure of nature.
But our human brains are gonna always think what, how, and why, because what you're proposing is like that is data, that like something that was not interpreted, something was here, something was always here. But what created that something that was always here, and what created that, and we are, it's like a loop, you know.
You already have the answer, because what we said before was there were only two options, and one of them was impossible. So if we only have two options and one of them is impossible, nothing has to create the second option. It is necessarily true.
But you're saying, we're assuming, like in all this, that everything, something always exists.
Let me give you an example. Yes. So,
but the thing, the conflict that I'm having. Yes.
You agree. 2 + 2 = 4. Yes. Why?
2 + 3 because it can be measured.
No.
It's proof. It's a truth. It's a proven truth.
Yes, but it's not proven by measurement. It's proven by calculation. Okay, so it's logically codified to be. Okay, so what I'm describing to you.
So let's call mathematics like a sort of like a universal coding.
No, okay. No, I think logic is the universal coding, but mathematics is the physical coding, right? Like, so like when we talk about mathematics, what we mean is codified logic. That's what mathematics is, right? So generally speaking, when we're talking about 2 + 2 = 4, that is something that is called in philosophy an a priori truth. Right? An a priori truth is something that's true according to the definitions of the words involved. And it's necessarily true insofar as the concept has been articulated coherently. Right? So I'll give an example in words. So all bachelors are single. Do you agree?
Oh my God! I swear, bro. Like I'm like my brain is going everywhere, man. Honestly, to be honest, like my brain is going everywhere because you think in a complete different way as me. I try to picturize things, and you try to like describe them like rationally. So when you say something, I'm trying to picture things. Like I said, I'm trying to apply it to my reality. And when you say these like things, what comes into my mind is like my head, my brain is always gonna ask why. And according to what you're saying, like everything always existed, therefore it has to exist. But then also my questioning, but my problem is I'm always gonna ask what created this and that, but you will always like say that it always existed, and this is gonna be like an infinite path of existence. Where can I find the end?
So you say why, right?
I'm trying to question it. Yes.
You're asking why, yep. And so why means, well, for what reason? Is that accurate?
I want to stream this. Can I stream this?
Anyway, why means for what reason?
I'm sorry. I'd just like to say that I think King 10, could you mute please? Because it's kind of echoing through your mic. Okay, what I was gonna say is that so I actually think it might be helpful for this discussion to show the first passage in my worldview document that we've been working on.
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy to do that.
Okay. If you want to quote it, do you know how to quote on Discord?
I think someone has just told me, but I'm not on my computer at the moment. You want to do it?
Sure, that's fine.
10, I've muted you. You can PM me.
Joseph,
Can hear me.
I'll
Just send me the link, yeah?
Joseph, I'll actually quote it in the debate text voice, okay?
Interesting.
Okay.
Can I stream this?
I mean, I don't personally mind, but it's up to them.
InSync, do you mind?
Don't personally mind what?
Can I stream this? InSync. Oh my days.
So what was I saying, Joseph? Do you remember?
Everyone's ignoring me. Listen, can I stream this debate or not?
I don't have no problems, bro, but I don't know the others. I'm just trying to, like, I'm actually enjoying this because I'm being educated and remembered of some terms that I forgot. So
Okay.
it's always good to speak with like people that have more knowledge. This is what's good about this. Like I said, like you know some things that I don't know. Probably I know some things you don't know, and we help each other to grow. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
InSync.
I agree with
I third that.
InSync doesn't do that. InSync. What InSync does is
He's very logical, you know, and like the problem I have.
Trust me,
is
he's
like
not very logical. You think he's logical. But he's a bit of an
no, it
idiot.
has logic when he speaks.
No, I'd vouch for him.
What did you say, man?
Look, if he came like to speak to me, I know what the fuck he's talking about. At least he's smart to question his things and explain them, and he knows how like to express them clearly to be able to be understandable by the common person. Yeah.
No, I think no. King 10. Matt, I don't know if you have King 10 muted, but
Who?
King 10. So King 10 doesn't really like Matthew that much because like Matthew's pointed out problems in like his thinking. So that's where some of that comes from, at least in my experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, like I don't care when someone like honestly, if you don't agree with me and you can prove that I'm wrong, thereof I will admit that I am wrong. But if you cannot prove it and you cannot contradict it, I will not accept it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm Taurus, bro.
I don't really get too much into the focus on like sort of the petty social bullshit. I just think it's a waste of time.
No, you just have to be, as long as you're respectful, man. Like it's okay to not agree with others. You know, it's okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's an extremely rational position.
It's not rational. It's just being like good. It's just being like
no. But I mean, like the practicality of it is rational.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's instinctive.
I thought the way that Joseph said he approached being wrong was extremely, extremely respectable.
Oh my god, I'm coming so much. I need a diaper. Sorry, bro. I had to say that. Man, we have to give it like a little bit of humor, bro. We cannot always be speaking like serious, you know.
All right, I'm gonna get going, guys. But like when I'm actually not a zombie, like completely tired.
Debate voice chat. Technical definition: making the absence of the foundation for belief explicit instead of implicit. Metaphorical analogy: imagine seemingly endless sea of conceptions where there is no solid foundation to build a home whose stability is sufficiently reliable to serve as a constant in our daily lives. On this sea, people compensate for the lack of foundation by using the water to build themselves a ship of ice. When this ship strays too far beyond the climate to which it is appropriate, it begins to deteriorate, and this occurs through melting. Sometimes people melt their ship down on purpose to reconstruct it, so they can travel more ambiguously among conceptual climates. Okay, and what should I apply this to?
So that's just the unknown. Okay, so real quick, that's just the unknown factor. So like you were talking about why earlier. Like imagine you have like a solid worldview, and then someone's like, okay, but like what if you're wrong? You know, do you know this with like absolute certainty? Well, like this just addresses that.
Yeah, it's just a way of expressing the uncertainty that we
And I don't think that can be applied to the subject we are discussing, because we're speaking of something outside this.
No, but he's just talking about the uncertainty of all knowledge.
If you're speaking of ice, I would agree more with the the metaphor about the iceberg. You know, you just seeing the peak of the iceberg, and under it is much bigger. That's like
That's pretty
the unknown.
interesting.
You know.
Hey, you should write that down.
No,
Dark
it's
Master.
written down already, bro. It's like you.
No,
If you search
I just
on the
mean.
web. Okay.
No, man. I just meant that into the analogy we already made.
Yeah, but normally the tip of the iceberg it is used to speak of the subconscious. Where they describe the consciousness, it's the tip of the iceberg, and when you go deep down yourself, you can find much more.
Isn't
So
that
they metaphorically translate it like
Joseph?
yeah. Sorry,
Joseph, I could be wrong, but isn't that analogy from Freud?
I do not know. Honestly, bro, I do not know. I just read it on the web, but I can search it right now.
So you are asking why, right? So why refers to like a reason for something, and generally we refer to, like, when we say why, we mean like what is the cause of the thing. Do you agree?
Just give me a second, bro. I'm not like here right now. If you know what I mean.
Okay.
Just want to send him like the thing. I want to know who invented this. So Edward T. Hall's cultural iceberg model. That's what it is. Yeah, but you have like I think it's this.
Okay.
But you have it, bro. Like
Joseph, could you DM me the link, please, to that? To the
I just got here. Just woke up.
Oh my god, but that's only. Yes, I will send it to you. Oh my god, metaphor.
You can use metaphors in different ways.
I'm gonna actually get going, but you folks take care.
How's the way Matt's using it incorrect?
He didn't say that it was. So just quickly, Joseph, we were asking why, weren't we?
Yeah, no, I don't. What my problem here is this. Sorry, here you have, bro, and here. Let me just finish this. Oh my god, it's not this. What the fuck? I think I sent you the wrong one.
You're talking about first cause, right? Like there has to be a first cause, an unmoved mover. That's the idea, because otherwise you haven't. Do you agree?
Sorry, bro. I'm still trying like to send him the correct link.
Okay.
Because like I sent him the wrong link by mistake. Pick a iceberg metaphor. Edward. Okay, this is the thing, bro. I'm gonna send it. Here he applies to behavior, beliefs, and values and true patterns. But it is most commonly used to describe the subconscious. I don't think this guy is the original creator of this. I think this is originated from someone else, and they just apply it to different things that you have there. So what the problem I had is that I cannot justify something. Yes, we are talking about, like, I'm saying, like, how, like, the problem I'm having. Why? Yeah, I will always ask who created this and that. Why? Yeah.
Yes. The technical name for that is an infinite, and it's considered an appeal to absurdity. Right? That's absurd reasoning. You can't always rely back on something else, right? And people used it in the past to say, well, there must have been a first cause, right? So basically, what I'm saying is that. So do you agree that a cause is a temporal thing?
A cause is a temporal thing. No, I think a cause is something that starts a change. The beginning of a change.
A change, yes, and a change involves time. Do you agree?
Sorry?
A change involves time.
Yes.
Yes, so that's what temporal means. Time. So when I say then that a cause is a temporal thing, what I mean is that because causes precede effect, okay, there has to be time.
A cause is not. It's not in temporal, bro, because it's always there. It will always be there because it's something that originated something. Oh my god, I'm contradicting myself.
That's not. No, that was fine. That was something that we've talked about before in philosophy. Okay, it's called like there are different types of causes. Aristotle talked about 4 different types of causes. You just described something which is a formal cause, but in science, we generally use the term to refer to cause and effect, which is a temporal process, right? Like something following a cause in time. It comes up, the effect comes after the cause. That's the definition, right? That's the idea.
Yes.
And insofar as an effect comes after a cause, right? That type of cause is temporal. But there's a different type of cause, which is a formal cause, and it was called a different name, I'm pretty sure by a guy called Spinoza. The different name is a principle of sufficient reason. So all things that are true because there is a sufficient reason such that their untruth is not possible. Right? So things that are true because their falsehood could not be true. And the reason that is because they have a reason behind them that says that they have to be the way they are.
And I cannot prove wrong because I don't have enough. Yeah. I'm
that's
not.
okay. No, that's okay. Let's just think about it, okay? Principle of
But like your reasoning, the problem I have is your reasoning is right, but it is an uncertain, like, it's uncertain.
Yes, but it's logic.
Yeah.
All I'm asking you to do is check my steps, okay? Check my reasoning. If you notice a mistake, tell me. And otherwise, maybe I'm right.
Maybe
you
on
didn't notice my mistake.
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I'm not in.
Maybe you didn't. Yeah.
How many types of causes are? Describe me the 4 causes. Like you have the formal, yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what they are. I need to read.
You should check those to be sure that they apply to the logic that you are using.
No, they do. They do. I know which ones apply. Like I can remember the ones that apply.
Then keep going on with the thought process.
The formal cause. Formal cause is the first type of cause. It's the cause you were talking about, which is something that causes things to be the way they are, right? But that's different to cause and effect. Do you agree?
Yes, because cause and effect, they are associated to each other. Yeah.
Yes. So cause and effect is a time-based thing. A formal cause is an atemporal cause. The way that an atemporal cause works is the same way that the linguistic reasoning I gave you before, which is that an atemporal cause, which is otherwise known as a principle of sufficient reason, that is, if X is true, it is true because it is sufficiently justified by a reason. So when we say, for instance, that all bachelors are single, what we mean is that outside of time and independently of the linguistic symbol we're using to represent, based on the way that we defined the idea, the condition of a bachelor is to be a single man, an unmarried man, right?
I'm hearing you. I'm just trying to not be confused by examples. I'm just trying to figure out
so what I'm saying is the proposition.
Because you give me an example, my brain is gonna try to apply it to reality, and again I will have like a contradiction inside myself because I'm just like proposing something that inside me it's originating more and more questions.
Yes,
and I have a problem with that. It's conflicting for me.
Yes, I understand. Okay, so let's look at the example. I can fix it for the example. All right, so all bachelors are single. Why? Why is that true?
What? Sorry?
All bachelors are single.
Bachelors?
Yes, bachelor means
and what?
An unmarried man.
Sorry, because I was not paying attention to the example. Honestly, from the beginning of it. I just like following like your reasoning. Just give me. Okay.
The example is important. We have to see if we can do what I'm trying to do. Okay, so all bachelors are single. Do you agree?
Yes, an unmarried.
Yes. Why?
Because they are single.
Yes. So is the answer by definition?
Yes, because because it's a definition of what you just told me.
Yes, exactly. So truths like that are atemporally true. Do you know what I mean by that?
No.
Outside of time, okay, it's always true that all bachelors are single, because bachelor refers to a specific idea, and the idea denotes a condition, which is to be single, essentially. So it follows deductively from the simple definition, and the definition, like the word that we use to represent the definition, may be arbitrary, but the idea itself is not arbitrary, and the idea that something can be single isn't dependent on humankind. So the proposition goes something like, all bachelors are single is a truth, even if no one is there to say it.
That's a hard question, because there has to be someone to say it, yeah. There has to be someone.
It doesn't have to be. That's what I'm saying. Is like, even though the way that we acknowledge things are true is by saying them. Something like all bachelors are single, because it is definitional and deductive, it's true even if you don't say it, because that's what we're acknowledging. Like, it's automatically true.
But it's still a linguistic. It's still a linguistic proposition. So
now he's legit trying to modulate the world and like by logic, bro. Bro, give me 1 minute. I need to do a coffee because I feel like I will need the coffee.
No worries. You're right. It is a linguistic representation. Is that a contention?
I don't necessarily think so, but I don't know.
You just wanted to clarify? Okay, so let's explore it. Okay, so when we say bachelor, do we mean, like, does the meaning, is it deductive from the symbol that we're using to present it, or is the meaning independent and we have associated bachelor with the idea?
Yeah, it's the latter. So I guess maybe we don't really disagree. I'm not sure.
It doesn't seem like we do, but let's continue to explore it. Okay, so if it is that we associate the word with the idea, right, and the idea is a definitional thing, right, and we agree that, like, what we do, generally speaking, when we, like, contrive definitions to describe the world is we are, like, sort of, like, trying to describe things that already exist. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
So then words represent things that already are. Do you agree with that?
Right.
So then when we say, for instance, that all bachelors are single, the idea of a bachelor already existed before we thought to conceive of the word. Do you agree to that?
Yeah, I mean,
it was a logically coherent thing to say, even when we weren't around to acknowledge it.
Right, but, you can still make up your own terms and give them your own meaning.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, but the thing that's important is, do you agree?
You kind of cut out for a second.
The thing that's important is, do you agree?
You just cut out again.
Okay, so the bit that is important is the meaning, not the representation. Do you agree?
Right, the meaning.
And the meaning is something that we derive. It's not something we make up, even though the word may be something made up.
Maybe.
Like, we have ideas insofar as they follow from our experiences. Do you agree? From where else do they come?
Yeah, but not necessarily. I mean,
Well,
we can
from where
have
else could
a
they come?
constructed. Well, we can construct an AI program that processes and filters information a particular way so that it's able to think. It's not necessarily derived from experience. So.
No, but when we program it, we are using the knowledge we derive from experience to instruct it how to think. Isn't that accurate?
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure where this is.
You sort of like said that, when we program a machine to think, it thinks in a way that's different to humans. That's what it sounded like you said. And the reason it's different to humans is that humans derive information from the environment, and computers reason because we have programmed them to do so. Have I captured your analogy properly?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
Okay, so we'll readdress the point. Words are linguistic representations of concepts, and the word is arbitrary, but the concept is not. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
I'm here, by the way. Just sorry to interrupt.
So So then the concept of an unmarried man, despite the fact that bachelor is, and it follows logically, even if we are not here to observe that it does, that an unmarried man is single.
Yeah.
By definition. Yes. So that truth is true, even if we are not here to, because definitional truth.
Oh, you cut out again.
Okay, so that truth is true, even if we.
Truth is truth, even if you're not hearing it.
What?
I just like quoting you because like you cut again for me at least.
Ah, okay. Did you hear me, Sanderson?
I think so.
No.
No?
Not really.
No. Okay, I said that definitional truths are true automatically, which means that even if you're not here to identify them, they're true anyway.
Okay.
Do you not accept that? Sure.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying, so I'm not really having a huge problem with it.
It's just that you sound unsure.
Unsure?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, we can't know everything, but, you know, I guess based on your reasoning, I think I would definitely agree. It seems to be grounded in objective reasoning, so...
Mm-hmm. So are you just saying, like, is it an appeal to the healthy amount of skepticism because of uncertain subjectivity, or is it more uncertain than that?
No, it's just it's the first one.
Okay, cool. So then I can probably continue with Joseph.
You muted yourself, bro?
Sorry, what was that?
You muted yourself, mate.
Yeah, that's just because I was talking to my partner.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were just like, yeah. Because we're following. Sorry. No, you do right here.
So, were you following the thing I was saying about definitional truth?
The problem I'm having with it is with your example. Like, your example, it's confusing. A little bit confusing, at least for me.
Okay, what's confusing about it?
Like, because like the thing like about like you defined it by being single, but it will always be considered single. The definition of single, like that whole like single like definition and stuff confused me a little bit.
Okay, so like the definition. Okay, so basically what I was going through with David here is like this idea that language is somewhat arbitrary, but also it isn't arbitrary in an important way, and drawing that distinction can be very difficult. The way that language is arbitrary is that the symbol that we use to represent an idea is arbitrary. We assign a symbol to it, basically at random. And the fact of the matter is that that is an arbitrary process with no real ground in reason. But the problem with that is that leads people to think that language itself is arbitrary. And that actually isn't true, because the thing about language is that it does this process of representation. And even though the symbol you're using to represent the thing may well be arbitrary, the thing that you are representing is not arbitrary.
Okay.
Do you agree to that?
Because it's not random. But
yeah, so like when we describe things, we're describing things that exist in the world, and insofar as they exist in the world, they have a nature which isn't based on what we call them.
But even like the way we describe the world is arbitrary because it's random and subjective. Because it's a personal whim,
Yes, no, but it's not quite just a personal whim, because science is the removal of the aspect to make our description of the world as consistent with our observations as possible, right? Do you agree to that? Yes, so when we improve the precision of our language, then what we're doing is we're like fleshing out our description of the thing that we're trying to represent. And if we can do that representation accurately enough, then we gain predictive power, which is what science is.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying then is the concepts that we label with these arbitrary symbols that we call words are not themselves arbitrary. They are things that exist in nature.
They have a meaning, yes. They are related to something else that exists.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and even though our is arbitrary, the thing that they relate to has nothing to do with. Do you agree?
Sorry, you cut off, bro. You're doing like some noise right now.
What I said was, even though the symbol itself is arbitrary, the thing that the symbol relates to is not arbitrary. It's something that actually exists in the world.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is that
it's like we have 1,000 words for a thing, but the thing is the same, yeah.
Yes. So because concepts have like definitions, and the definitions are not arbitrary, right? If we have a definition, then what we have is a description of something in the world. Do you agree?
Yes.
Yes.
It has logic, yes.
If we have a description of something in the world, and we can deduce something from it, then insofar as our description is accurate, our deduction is necessarily true. Do you agree to that? Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is that, like according to the definitions that we're using, or the concepts that we're describing, as long as our definitions are adequate to account for everything we mean and nothing more, then any deductions that we make about the definitions are necessarily true.
Yes, if they cannot be proven wrong, logically.
Mm-hmm. And so that is the proof that I'm providing you for the idea that I was telling you about, because the conclusions that I'm proposing to you follow deductively from definitions we already.
But my problem again, you're answering some of my doubts. I can like logically it is right,
okay, so
it gives. Yeah.
So here's what I'm saying.
My problem is like the questions.
No, I know. Let's return to the example. Okay, so the example was, why are all bachelors single? Can you ask that again?
But it's a definition that we gave.
No,
he's single because.
Like, listen. So he's single.
He's gonna be always single because we give the definition.
Yes. So then, can you ask why again?
I can't because it's the definition. It's defined.
Yeah. Exactly. But that's the end of the infinite.
I want to question why. What?
No, I know. You may want, if you have an answer and you can't question why anymore, doesn't that mean that you found what you were looking for?
Yeah, I just found that I cannot prove it wrong, but like I feel like I have to question more. Yes,
but what I'm saying is you can question it every day of your life, right? The point is that when you ask why, right, you were talking about the infinite process of like continually asking why, but I showed you that for a priori truth, which is the example, like the bachelor example is an example of a priori truth. For a priori truth, there is no infinite regression of why, because it follows from the definitions, and that is the sufficient reason that the conclusion must be true.
Yeah.
And it doesn't rely on the predication of it that you do when you postulate it. It just is that way because it has to be, as we said, because it follows from the definitions.
Man, I honestly feel you have to send me this, so I sent it to my philosophy teacher if he can find me a logical reason to prove that this is wrong.
I'd love to do
because
that.
I think I think he's gonna be curious, like, and he's gonna say that I'm smoking too much weed or some shit. I'm joking. I'm gonna say something. If you send it to me, I'm gonna ask him like, look, we have been debating this. Can you find any logical like mistake, like just logically speaking, on this this theory here?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a good idea. I would love to hear what he has to say about it.
Do you have that? I assume that you have that all on paper with the terms, like the key points, what data means, what blah. Okay.
Yeah.
If you can send me that, I will send it to him, and let's see what he says. I think I still have him. He's now he went from philosophy teacher, and he's trying to put himself into like politics.
That's an interesting transition.
No, he's still a teacher, right? But he started like like how do you call it? A party, a national party. Yeah, something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like a. Oh, I don't actually know what the term is. It's a Democratic Party, but if not, if you don't have a democracy, I don't know. What
I just
political
started
system do you have
like a new like party, you know.
What?
He created from the ground. Here it works like this: you go to the public, you get 3,000 signatures, and you can start your own party, the Democratic like Republic. You know, you can apply to be the president of the republic. Yeah, something like that. At least he's a smart guy, you know, like he teaches philosophy, like that. So
Sure,
he
yeah.
at least has a good background, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to know his opinion on it, man. But like you were telling me, you know, we were talking, and yeah, I feel like I can answer that question because when we refer to like the fact that you can't ask why again for definitional truth, which is known in philosophy as a priori truth, right? If we can arrive at a definitional truth for like a conclusion about reality, then that's the sort of thing where the why, the infinite why, stops. Like it has to stop.
Yeah.
Because you know.
And when you're creating a theory of truth or reality, it has to be, I think, a closed system so that there are no questions that you have to, there's no infinite regression of questions, right?
Definitely.
And you're trying to create a closed system in your theory, right?
Well, it is supposed to completely describe the way things are, yes.
Okay.
I assume that's what you mean by closed system.
Huh?
I said, I assume that is what you mean by closed system.
Well, yeah, I think so. Well, a closed system is basically a system where there's no infinite regression of further questions, like it's self-answering theory.
Then yes.
Thank you for listening. Like, share, subscribe, and join us in the Nameless Debates Discord. We hope to see you there.